grew up here in Rutherford County. It's home, and on a farm out in the little village of Ellenboro, a little town. But then later in life, I moved here to Forest City, which is just a sweet little town, and attended East Rutherford High School. Was not the smartest kid in school, but I was damn sure the sneakiest. And then ended up at Appalachian State University in the mid-'80s, where I claimed to have been for 7 years. I should have been forever. I should have never left Boone, because I knew the day I arrived in Boone, North Carolina, and walked across the campus of App State, that I was probably as close to heaven as I would ever be. But no, I just fell in love. And you know when you find the right place. You know when you find the right spouse. Well, hell, probably not, since I've had several. And to this day, I still am in love with Boone, North Carolina, and most importantly, Appalachian State University. I chose education as a major because the people who had a tremendous influence on me were educators. My family, my 2 sisters, are still educators in this community. My grandmother taught 44 years in the same school. And so I felt that was the route I could pay back what had been given to me. The professors at App are tremendous. And so, yes, I can name them all, and we can go through 10 or 15, because I had a great relationship with the professors there on campus. And of course, we all know the one that made sure I graduated and kept me out of trouble as best he could was Chancellor John Thomas. Chancellor Thomas and I became so close, and I would get those phone calls from him occasionally. He would say, "The Marine recruiter's coming tomorrow if you'd like to come see him." And I kept saying, "I'm not interested right now in the Marines, Chancellor." And he said, "You don't hurry and graduate, you're gonna be." So that was his way of telling me to quit being lazy, and I wasn't being lazy. I was just minoring in every subject that was offered at App State. But one time, and he was really good at this, he brought a group of dignitaries from Asia, and they were touring the campus at App State. And so he comes up in this golf cart and has 3 gentlemen and himself get out, and they're looking at dorms, and they're pointing, and they start going into buildings. And a good friend of mine, roommate, and I were standing there, and we'd already made plans to go over to the girls' dorm across campus, but we were gonna have to walk, and there was that golf cart, and we looked at each other, and we said, "Oh, he won't mind, he'll probably be in there for 30 minutes or an hour. We're just gonna go say hey to everybody." So we got in the golf cart, here we go across campus, go to the girls' dorm, hang out a little longer than we should have, and coming back, instead of going all the way around where we felt like he could probably see us if he was walking out of building, we cut across the duck pond, and that grass being wet hit the brakes. I'm proud to say I was not driving, but hit the brakes, and the next thing I know, I'm sitting in water up to my chest, thinking, I don't know how I'm gonna tell my mom and dad that I'm not gonna be graduating. And we get out and run, of course, get in Justice dorm, and looking out the window, and the next thing we know is a wrecker has backed up to the duck pond and is pulling the Chancellor's golf cart out of the duck pond. So anyway, the next morning I'm in I'm in Walker Hall, and at that time was taking a business law class. So again, a nice lady comes in and interrupts class and said, "Dr. Cherry, Philip Byers needs to see the Chancellor now." And I started getting my books and stuff up, and he said, "Well, Phil, just leave you." Dr. Goodman, he said, "Phil, just leave your stuff. You probably won't be there but a minute or 2. And I said, "No, this is probably it, Dr. Cherry." So I got my stuff and went to the Chancellor's office, and he was standing outside, and the golf cart was outside on the grass. And I walked up behind him, and he said, "Byers, do you know anything about this golf cart?" And I said, "No, I do know that it's very filthy, and if you're gonna ride dignitaries from Asia around, you ought to wash the damn thing." And he turned and looked at me with pure disgust and said, "Get back to class." And so I went back to class, never mentioned the golf cart again. That was hush-hush until I graduated. But I did borrow the golf cart to go to the girls' dorm. And of course, he knew it the whole time, but he was dead set on making sure I graduated. And as the last letter he sent me said, he didn't think much of me when I was there, but I'd made up for it afterwards. And that no finer man have I ever known or anybody played a bigger part in believing in me and making sure, because there was 4 or 5 times he should have sent me home forever, but he didn't. So, how about that? Good Lord's got a sense of humor. I never intended to be in law enforcement. When I was a child playing cops and robbers, I was always a robber. But a good friend of mine, Dan Good, who was another mentor, a highway patrolman here in the county, ran for sheriff, and he got elected. And he came to me and said, "Now you've got me elected, what am I going to do? Let's come to work for me." And I said, "No, I won't do it." Anyway, I ended up going to work for the sheriff. Well, a year turned into 2 years to 3 years, and then lo and behold, when he retired, I became the sheriff. And every day when I was sheriff, I would get the arrest reports. And, you put on there employment, all the questions that you ask, and level of education. Every day I would check. And during that time I was checking, the lowest it was ever was 75%. It went as high as 95% of 210 people incarcerated in Rutherford County Jail had less than a high school education and were unemployed. I kept doing that research, and every week I'd see more people incarcerated, and I said, I think I can make a bigger gain for the public in helping people working in education than arresting people every day. So that was my exit of law enforcement, and I had met John Bryan, and then John brought his knowledge and believed in me enough to adopt me and take me under his wing. And he and I became immediate friends, and so my career then went 100% toward education and working for him. Today we still have 11 schools and we went in and provided service, and still today we go in and do tutoring. That's a big thing we're doing now, working with Melba Spooner and the Chancellor and our friends at App State, is we're doing a lot of tutoring programs. We have them here. We have them, we'll be in Elkin this fall, as well as Winston-Salem. And my big plan is to have tutoring in all our lab schools. And I don't mean just a little tutoring, I mean mega tutoring to bring these grades up. We've got kids that are averaging in counties like this 1 to 2 years behind in reading and math. We've passed a lot of bills working with legislators to help everybody. I don't care what you call your school. I don't care if it's private, it's public, it's traditional public. I don't care if it's religious school. As long as a child can read and is proficient at an early age, so they can use every year to get smarter and better and to have a career where they can compete, not only in North Carolina, but across the world. I don't mind it. I keep doing what we're doing, and we're going to educate every child until we run completely out of money, and then we're going to try to borrow some to keep educating them. I was honored to be elected to the UNC Board of Governors, almost 9 years now, and I met Chancellor Sherry Everts at the UNC Board of Governors. Right after she had not been here but a few months when I met the Chancellor. The minute I met the old farm girl from Nebraska, I fell in love with what she was trying to do for App State. She was here to make App a better university, and she's done it. In my first years with the Board of Governors, I made it a point to go to each of the universities and speak at commencement as the liaison, because we have such great universities, all of them. But then as I became the liaison at App, I just wanted to speak to the students at App State. So I tell jokes, I get way off script. There's no need to give me a script. The chancellor gets nervous, and then close out by telling you how important what you've done is. And if an old country boy like me can be successful because of App State and hard work, so can anybody. As I said earlier, you're asking to describe App State in a word or a sentence, or I'll do all the above. If it's a word, I'll tell you heaven, because you see all God's beauty. And then right in the center is that beautiful campus, but that's where I belong, and that's where I'm at peace. And it's the academics. Maybe I haven't talked enough about academics. The academics are great, speak for themselves. I could have brought a sheet in and read off all the awards that we win, and all the New York Times and all the U.S. News and World Report things we get from App State. The academics speak for themselves. An education's great, but an experience is fun. And so that's what App State is. It's an experience. If you want education, you can there's thousands of universities across the world. Pick one, you'll get an education. If you want an experience and an education, my suggestion to you is to look to Boone, North Carolina, where it's equally as good today as it was in the mid-'80s when I was still such an ugly word, borrowing Chancellor Thomas's golf cart to go to the girls' dorm. If your life's like mine, you will never have the peace and the happiness the entire rest of your life. And I'm happy every day and have fun. But there was something about those years in Boone when I was in school that will never be replicated. What does it mean to be the distinguished alumni of Appalachian State University? Well, hell, let me just tell you up front. Any organization that will honor me should be done away with. How on earth did I end up in a position? I know who our former Alumni of the Year members have been, awardees, if you will. We've got alumni from App State. That's why I'm not deserving. We've got alumni at App State everywhere, from generals in the military to elected officials on down the line, of people who have made a difference. And I don't deserve it. I'm honored, deeply honored, that I would even be considered. But I'm not deserving by any means.